In my book, G is definitely for garlic, one of my favourite flavours. Unfortunately, not one of my daughter's favourite flavours. I always put 3 cloves of garlic in hummus, and she always tells me it's too much, Mum. They are big cloves, mind you, but it is not only a fantastic flavour, it's also an amazing, amazing food for health. And it does have a reputation, obviously, for keeping vampires at bay. But a few years ago, I went into the HSBC Bank when there was still one in Hemsworth, and I was standing in the queue. I don't know if you've ever been in that bank, but the queue line was in the middle of the bank. So you were probably about 3 feet from the bank teller's glass cover at that point. And I was at the front of the queue, and the customer in front of the bank teller moved off, and the bank teller said, "Oh my God, who's been eating garlic?" And it was me. I just had hummus and salad for lunch. And anyway, there was a big queue behind me, and I very self-consciously moved up to the counter, swiftly carried out my business and exited without saying a word. And that woman must have very good nose, because she literally was covered from ceiling to sort of counter in glass. Anyway, of course, it's renowned as a French perfume in terms of garlic breath, and garlic does exude out of pretty much every route of elimination that we have. I'm really proud today because last week I dug up the garlic growth that I've done for this year from my garden, and that little bunch there in the photo on the left is hanging up to dry. So why is garlic so stinky? Well, it's rich in sulfur, and of course we all remember sulfur bombs from chemistry at school. Now that smell can linger for a couple of days in the body, and it pours out of our sweat, our breath, and our urine. And of course, other people notice it. Now, my homeopath's absolutely lovely, because I can remember my mum telling me that she went to see him, and she said, "I'm really sorry, I've been eating garlic." And so he said, "It's all right, I like it secondhand as much as firsthand." So why is sulfur so helpful for the body? Well, of course, one of the reasons is because it's one of the liver detoxification pathways that helps us rid our body of toxins, drugs, if we take them, industrial chemicals, which of course are in the air, phenolics in plastic and disinfectants, and in the body, steroid hormones and neurotransmitters that we no longer need. So really important part of liver detox. Now, if you want to lessen the odour that you exude from your breath, there are a few foods that you can eat that will really maximise and the lessening the odour, should I say. And so lettuce, surprisingly, which is pretty innocuous, and you would never think of that lessening the odour of garlic, but it does. Celery, potatoes, mushrooms, but also there are several herbs, so parsley, mint leaves, peppermint and basil. And the picture here is parsley and garlic with mushrooms. So if ever you want to have garlic mushrooms, always eat them with parsley as well, and it will really lessen the amount of garlic that you breathe out. Now, garlic is really fantastic because it's highly antimicrobial. And the picture we've got here shows that with Staphylococcus aureus bacteria, you can see that garlic was compared with several antibiotics there. And actually, there is as little bacteria growth as a couple of the antibiotics. So it's really powerful. Now, in terms of gut, it's helpful for good gut flora, whilst at the same time being harmful for your bad gut flora. And the other thing is it contains inulin, which is a lovely food for your gut flora. So there's a couple of gut flora advantages there. And the other thing is in terms of, everyone every day produces some cancer cells, which are normally dealt with in the normal process of the body. And in fact, garlic inhibits tumour cell growth. So it's absolutely fantastic. Also, if you think about antibiotics, the lovely thing to remember is that the body is far less likely to develop a resistance to it than it will do with antibiotics. And in fact, garlic used to be used to treat infected wounds before antibiotics came on the scene, because 3 cloves of garlic is as antibacterial as an adult dose of penicillin. So look, 1 pot of my hummus and boom, any infection gone. So what else does garlic contain? Well, the thing that makes it so stinky is the sulfurous compound in it is a really important phytochemical called allicin. Not allicin, allicin. And what these phytochemicals, or what phytochemicals do generally, is they activate adaptive stress response signaling pathways. So they help the inside of our body adapt to stress responses, because of course most of us are under some kind of stress most of the time, and so we're producing chemicals along those pathways that can contribute to poorer health. And what things like the allicin in garlic do is they help protect all of our little cells, every 100 trillion of them, against stress. So really important phytochemical in garlic. So just a couple of research mentions. Raw garlic consumption twice a week reduces the risk of developing lung cancer, even as a smoker. Allicin, that lovely phytochemical, kills Burkholderia cepacia bacteria that has the potential to cause life-threatening lung infections in people with cystic fibrosis. And so if you can imagine, because the garlic compounds are carried in the blood, and the reason they're exuded through the breath is because they're carried into the lung blood as well. And that's, being a route of elimination is why we breathe out the sulfur compounds from the garlic. But that also has the capacity to protect the lungs. And in fact, they've discovered that pneumonia can be treated with good amounts of garlic. So a lovely lung tonic is to make a broth. That could be a vegetable broth, a chicken broth, a lamb broth, whatever kind of broth, and use plenty of garlic, ginger, black pepper and spring onions, because all of those foods are pungent, spicy foods that really nourish the lungs. And that's something from the Chinese 5 elements. They have found that pungent foods help the lungs, not only the lungs, but also the gut as well. So what I say is garlic every day. It'd just be rude not to, wouldn't it? Because it is such a wonderful natural medicine. Look after you.